On the subject of race and ethnicity in sports, the movie Friday Night Lights had a consistent black and white theme. To start off, the movie was set in the Permian Basin town of Odessa, Texas. Odessa was a town full of segregation, but joined as one when it came to football. The Permian high school football team players were all white except for their star players, Booby and Chris, who were running backs, and Chavez, which was a defensive end. As the football season was coming to an end, the teams going into championships, Permian High School and Dallas Carter's athletic departments were having a difficult time choosing referees based on race. Both teams thought if the referees matched the race of that school, they would automatically be in favor for that school. This just proves how segregation in the 1980s was still a problem in West Texas. Another racial issue presented in the movie was how Dallas Carter's athletes were portrayed. They were seen as the stereotypical black athlete, which was tall, big, and intimidating. They were basically monsters. These players were also very aggressive and violent, giving all the Permian high school players a multitude of injuries. In reality, these players were not as big or scary and did not violate the rules as much as the movie presented.
How about if y'all come out here? Where? Over at Radcliffe Stadium? Yeah.
I still think there'd be a problem with our fans sitting with your fans.
I don't see any problem. We can bring in extra police to handle crowd control issues.
Mr. McClary, perhaps you're not aware, but we have an all-black community. And frankly, between our communities, there are some issues.
Now, wait a minute. What issues are we talking about?
You know, I'm not going to get into it at this table. It's just different.
How about if we went with a neutral site? Say College Station or San Antonio, somewhere like that. Now, you know what we could do? Astrodome. Astrodome. I got no problem with that.
Good. Let's discuss officials.
Well, I think the simplest thing to do is just get a zebra crew out of some neutral place like San Antonio. So now, are these zebras going to be white or black? Well, as far as I know, zebras are white and black. What are we talking about here? Now, how many black stripes these zebras got? Well, I believe the zebras got about the same amount of black ones as it does white ones. How many black stripes do you think the zebras got? Makes sense to hire a crew as is. That's how we always do it. Don't make sense to me. Well, it makes sense to me, not me. Well, not a whole lot does make sense to you, does it? Yeah, there's a lot that makes sense to me. So you think having an all-black officiating crew is going to somehow help you win a game? Watch your mouth.
As we see the townspeople and reporters interact with the Permian-based football team, there's a lot of pressure that is put on the players to perform not just well, but to win the state championship and to do it with an undefeated season. The pressure is put on the players and the coach before the season even starts. As the movie progresses, we start to see the effect that this has on the players. The team's star player, Booby, gets injured in the first game of the season and should be out for the rest of the season, but the pressure to put him back in the game by his family in the town makes him play even if he shouldn't, and he ends up hurting himself even worse than he already was. The Booby goes to the doctor in a nearby city who had a rival football team to their own and gets looked at by the doctor, who tells him that he will need surgery. And Booby starts to yell at the doctor about how his career is now over and everything in his life circled around football, and that the doctor was just telling him this to help the team of his town win. The team ends up losing one game, and everyone is very disappointed and makes sure that everyone knows it. This is seen with one player, Don Billingsley, whose dad was on the state champs team when he was in high school, kicked out a window in their car and throws a championship ring into the field. The coach, Gary Gaines, was in town with his family right before the championship game, and members of the school board drove past and hinted, not very subtly, that if the team lost the championship, then he would be out of a job. This all shows the power equals performance model of youth sport, and these kids feel the need to play through the pain, that if they just keep pushing and practicing, they will be perfect, and everyone that they play is their enemy that needs to be crushed.
We've been thinking about this for 4 months now. These seniors have been thinking about it for 17 years. Well, it's here now. It's time. If any of you have any doubt in your mind, I don't want you to walk through that door over there. You shouldn't have any doubt in your mind about what you're supposed to do tonight and about how you're supposed to do it. So let's take care of it!
Friday Night Lights is about a winning football team in a small town in Odessa. Since Odessa is a small town with not much to live for, but football is that hope. With a star tailback they can win it all. In the beginning, Boobie Miles gets injured in the first game of the season. After that, no one thinks a powerhouse football team is going to win the championship game. Facing lots of adversity, Coach Gary Gaines pulls his team together to make a comeback. They're barely able to get in the playoffs by the seat of their pants and get all the way to the championship game to face Dallas Carter in a hard-fought battle for the title.
What's it like being the quarterback? I mean, this is a big responsibility for a 17-year-old kid.
That is not acceptable.
Sort of, it's not too bad, I know. You are playing like a fool. Do you think you can handle it?
If you got a receiver get jammed inside, what will you do with your brain?
Yeah, I hope so.
What will your brain do? You throw outside.
Throw it outside.
You'll throw outside. Now you think you can do that?
Yes, sir.
Well, show me. Show me.
In the 2004 movie Friday Night Lights, directed by Peter Berg, the main theory that is identifiable to the viewers is the functionalism theory. The functionalism theory means that all parts of society produce order. In other words, fit together in mutually supportive and constructive ways. Peter Berg directed this film around this theory through the team's endeavors, but not only through the endeavors, but also through the town Odessa's dream of solidarity, by working in hopes to become victorious in the state championship. The Friday Night Lights football games played a vital role in forming a tight-knit community. This is shown through the storefronts closing and the newly built Permian Stadium being packed when those floodlights turned on. However, this theory is not only shown through the community, but as well as individually. For example, Don Billingsley had an alcoholic and abusive father. His father was formerly a state champion who was embarrassed by Don because he was unable to keep hold of the ball. Don was abused throughout the movie. However, after participating in the state finals, the bond with his father shifted, in which his father was proud of Don and continued to be so for years to come, despite them losing the championship. Don is an example of one of the many townspeople who was impacted by the town's desires to become football state champions.
Do you think you're playing football? Do you think you're playing football? Do you think you're playing football? You are showing me nothing. Do you understand me? Do you think you got it made? Do you think you got it made? Because if that's what you think, you're going to find out what it feels like to sit on your asses and watch Midland Lee take your season.
The power of sports. The culture of our society is centered around entertainment, with sports being one of its major headlines. Parents often try to live vicariously through their children and place large amounts of pressure on them to succeed with sports and extracurriculars. Boobie, pushing himself beyond the point of injury, was one example of societal pressure placed upon athletes to do well due to fear of failure. The participation in sports can create a sense of identity for athletes as they progress their way through life. Sports players find themselves in high social stress situations where they are either the center of attention or in the middle of a large crowd with large amounts of scrutiny placed on performance. The quarterback experienced high amounts of performance anxiety due to the fact that he was the only person they had for the job, leading him to feel undervalued for his lack of ability. Race and ethnicity. Race and ethnicity create boundaries that can separate players from opportunities and positions. Society holds views that certain races are more prone to aggressive behavior than others. During the movie, the athletic department had to debate the ethnicities of the referees to ensure that there was no bias during the game. Sports carry large amounts of social influence. They can be a driving force for local economies, creating attractions to the place of location, opportunities for both marketing and advertising, a chance for youth to participate in recreational activities, and serve as a catalyst for social change.